going to bring in Steve Dudash, and Steve Dudash has about $700 million in assets under management right now. And I need to know right now at IHT Wealth Management what you do on a day, on an afternoon like this, with about 6 minutes to go before the trading session is done. We're off the lows of the session, but we are negative for the year on the S&P 500.
We're not that negative, though, compared to where we were in January. But I think you guys nailed it, by the way, when you were just talking about what's more. When can we start talking about earnings again? When can we get away from the Fed? Can we get away from the unclarity that's going on there? You know, one side saying we're never going to raise rates, the other side 2 minutes later comes out and says we're raising them as many times as possible. Can't we get back to earnings? Can we get away from the political nonsense and get back to what the actual balance sheets say about these companies versus all the other nonsense that's been going on? But
as you see a day like today, and yet we were higher yesterday, it makes it a little more challenging for our viewers to pick really good stocks. What's your secret? What's your trick on a couple of months like this that we've seen?
My trick is when everyone's running away from something, we're running to it. You know, right now the biotech sector has been getting crushed in the last 6 months. I personally think it's been oversold. Yes, last year there was some really negative press about people putting up cancer drugs to $1,000 a pill, and that drove all the politicians to beat them up.
Well, that actually dovetails very well. I don't know if you just heard what Gasparino was saying.
Do you like Valiant at these levels?
I didn't like it at 240. Yeah,
well, you know, there is a goal with this. Could we put up a stock chart on Valiant?
Yeah, because you're making the wires, Charlie.
Yeah, we're making the wires now. We're getting some pickup about them. It's up a little bit since our report, but it is being picked up now. You know, there is a bull case on Valiant that it's, you know, maybe not a $250 stock, but it might be a $60 stock. And
there's a bull case for the whole sector, though.
Yes.
That whole sector has been destroyed and overly sold. I mean, there's definitely some bad companies in there. Don't get me wrong, but you're telling me that all of these medical companies need to go out of business? Because that's what's being priced in right now.
And it soared 12% yesterday on news about Eli Lilly and a drug that it's acquiring.
I don't think it even comes down to just the individual drugs that they're acquiring. The nice thing about a company like that is they are profitable and they don't need to worry about every single drug making it through the process, because you guys both know it's a very long process and not always clear.
So what do you think of Valiant? I hate to cut you off there. We've only got a few minutes.
I'm sorry.
He didn't like
I think it's a good company.
Do you like it at 35?
Yeah, I like it at 35, and I think it's a fun company to get into at this price because you're getting good value on your money.
Okay, we're down 192 on the Dow Jones Industrials here, and you like Google Alphabet. That, of course, is a name that has been very, very strong over the past several years. But there's news today that the European Union may go after it like it went after Microsoft on antitrust issues. You worried about that? Does that put an overhang over something like Google?
They're the biggest kid on the block. Of course people are going to come after them. Every time you get a monster company out there, there's going to be political reasons why that they're going to put antitrust and they're going to come after those companies. I like Alphabet, and I know this is off the beaten path here. I like Alphabet because of all the things they're doing besides the search engine business that they've been driving on, because they're not going to double that side of the business. They can't
Did you hear,
anymore.
too, that Tesla, speaking of technology companies, has 325,000 reservations over 1 week for its new Model 3.
That's your baby, and I'm not going to knock Tesla in front of you, but there is no chance that they come through with all 300 and however. They could say they got 1 billion orders. That doesn't mean anything. They can't produce them fast enough.
Well, I would agree with that.
Do you know anybody that owns an electric car?
Well, that's the other part of this. I mean, you're talking about 300,000 cars that are coming out there.
on the West Side Highway today, and they're all over California.
If you notice, she's on the West Side Highway, the most liberal, pinko part of New York.
Yeah, that's the easiest way for people from Connecticut to get to Wall Street.
Tesla is a good company, but they cannot produce what they're promising.
They need to be a better company.
They cannot produce cars at $30.
Okay, we're looking right now. The breaking news is that the markets are off the lows of the session. At one point, we were down about, what was it, 200, and the worst of the session, 232. The S&P had been down 33. The NASDAQ had been down 89. We are up off all of those floors. But when you see the fear trade with the VIX spiking and gold jumping about $18, what is that final message, Steve?
I think gold is the worst investment on the planet right now. I don't know how else to put it. Until they come up with a way to actually use gold for some sort of production value thing, it is a fear trade. People buy it because they think it's going to make them safer.
I'm wearing production value in my ears right now,
How about pinky rings?
There's
Pinky rings.
Right, that's what you're buying there. You're buying something that's sold to people out of fear and out. It's some inflation hedge. It hasn't been.
This is an
The gold
anti-Italian
standard's not
comment
coming
that you're
back.
making. You're making
The gold
an
standard's not coming
anti-ethnic
back.
comment about
Okay,
pinky
listen,
rings.
we want to thank Steve
Wow.
Dudash. We appreciate you coming on. He's over at IHT. Great job. Nice to have you. He's picking Google and he's
Great
picking
guy.
Insight. Look at this, folks. Down 173 points, a triple-digit loss on the Dow. The S&P no longer positive for the year. There's the